Alright guys, so for today's lesson, we're going to be working with extended multiplication facts. So our objective is you will be able to extend your basic multiplication facts to products of ones and tens and products of tens and tens. This is something that we've kind of already done when working with number talks, so it's kind of just a review of extended multiplication. Alright, so here's your warm-up for you. So go ahead and work on this problem in your math thinking notebook. So 6 apples cost 40 cents each. What would the total cost be? So I'll give you some time to figure out what would the total cost be. This is where you can kind of pause the video and complete the work in your thinking notebook, and then we'll go through it together. Alright, so for my problem, I kind of started to make a little bit of an array. So I started off with just a purple line, and that representing an apple, and that apple would then be 40 cents. And I kind of grouped them into two groups of 3 because I know that it's going to be easier for me to do that mentally to figure that out. So if we look at my first group here, I have 3 apples and they're 40 cents each. And I know that 40 plus 40 is going to be 80. And then another 40 added onto that would be 120 or $1.20. So I know that if I have 3 apples and they're 40 cents each, it's going to take me to $1.40 or $1.20, excuse me. And then all I have to do to figure out how much 6 apples would be is I would just double it. So I would times it by 2, and that is going to get me to $2.40. Now you might have used a different strategy, and that's fine as long as you get to the same answer in the end. That's perfectly okay. So let's continue going with this, and let's look at it with a math triangle, okay? Fact, family, triangle. So you know that 4 times 6 is 24. So 6 times 40 is it's the same, only you're extending it. You're extending it with a 0 at the end. So you have 240. So 6 times 4 would give you 24. 6 times 40 is going to give you 240. I'm actually going to write that in a little bit of a darker color so you can see it. Okay, so going through this with our fact triangle, you would do multiplication and then division. Okay, so you know that 6 times 40 is going to get you to 240, and 40 times 6 is going to get you to 240, and then 240 divided by 40 will get you to 6. Oops, not 60, 6. And 240 divided by 6 would get you to 40. Okay, so it's the same as your basic math facts, only you're extending them because now we're working with our tens. And if you think back to when we did math talks, we kind of talked about that 0 kind of being magic, and almost like just do the 6 times to 4 and then add the 0 on at the end if you can remember that strategy. Alright, so let's look at doing some extended facts and looking at the fact triangle, remembering that this is multiplication and division. So we know that 2 times 3 is going to get us to 6. So we can use that to help us solve what 2 times 30 would be. So 2 times 3 is 6, and then we know that the 3 is in the tens place, so then we have that 0 left over, which would get us to 60. So 2 times 30, or 2 groups of 30, would equal 60. Same with if it would be 20 times 3. 2 times 3 gets us that 6, and then we can bring our 0 over to get it to 60. Alright, so let's look at this one. We have 48. We have 6 times 8 equals 48. So, once again, you're looking at 6 times 8 is going to get us to 48. And then we have 6 times 80. So we know that 6 times 8 is 48. We can add that 48 and then bring our 0 right on over to get us to 480. Same thing if we did this one, we could do 9 times 5, which equals 45. Then we're going to do the 9 times 5 again, which equals 45. And then we can bring that 0 right on over to get 450. Alright, I'm going to go ahead a little bit. Oops, going back here. So let's look at doing 2 digits. So now we have 3 times 5 is going to get us to 15. Okay, because that's a basic fact. So we know that. So we have 3 and 5. 3 times 5 is going to get us to 15. Now, how many zeros do we have left over? Well, we have 1 0 behind the 30 and 1 0 behind the 50. So we have 2 zeros left over. So if we just add those 2 zeros on, it's going to give us 1,500. That's our answer. So these zeros right here, we just carried them right on over. Alright, and then our last problem for today, 4 times 6 is going to get us to 24. And so we have 4 times 6 is going to get us to 24. And then we have 2 zeros left over. We're going to take those 2 zeros, add them on over here. 2 zeros so that we get 2,400 as our answer. Alright, now it's time for you to go ahead and complete the Google form for today's lesson, and then you can begin the math homework. This completes lesson 5.1.